If you're a Langchain user, you should know that you can now run Langchain apps on the Google Cloud Platform using the Reasoning Engine API. So this is basically a managed runtime for any agentic workflows with different orchestration frameworks. An example would be Langchain. So Langchain on Vertex AI is basically using Reasoning Engine to host a runtime for you to run your Langchain applications. If we look here at the flow diagram, you can see that you have a managed runtime where your orchestration flow happens. This is basically your Langchain application running in a runtime with all the dependencies and libraries installed for you. So let's take a look at how that works in code. So I have this Golang notebook here, which you'll have access to in the video description. After the setup steps in the beginning here, I have two examples of working with the Reasoning Engine API to run Langchain applications. The first one is a simple Langchain app where I have a chatbot that is a helpful assistant that answers questions about Google Cloud. So I have the prompt here, the placeholder for the human query, a chat prompt template from Langchain library, and I create a simple chain, and that is all in a method called setup. So this is the method that will run when you deploy the app to a managed runtime. So this will basically set up your application and create your chain. And then you need a query method, which is the one that will invoke the chain with any user input. So we can test this app locally by simply running the setup method and then the query method, just to see that everything works. And then, and here's the interesting part, we can deploy this to the managed runtime. So here we first initialize the Vertex AI client, and then we call the create method in the Reasoning Engine library, and we pass the Langchain application object, the requirements, so these are the Python packages that need to be installed in the runtime, a display name, description, system version, and if I had any local files or local packages or dependencies, I could pass them into these extra packages variable. So after we run that, we have our app running remotely in this managed runtime. So I can invoke it by calling the query method in the object, and I get the response just like I did before. And if you want to call this from an external application, an external system, what you can do is that you can attach to your application by its ID. So you can find the Reasoning Engine ID as the output of the create method. And then you pass this ID to the Reasoning Engine class and you initialize your app that way. And then you can query it like you did before. So this is a way to have a decoupled system where your client will be elsewhere and you can just attach to your applications by the ID. So this is a really powerful feature, and the special thing about it is that you don't need to manage that runtime yourself. You don't need to deploy it on virtual machines or manage the underlying infrastructure and security. All of that is taken care of by Google Cloud. If you want to delete your app, you can just call the delete method in the Reasoning Engine object. Here I have a second example where I deploy a Langchain agent. This is a simple agent where I have my model here, a function, which is a tool that the model will have access to. This is a simple exchange rate converter. And here I initialize the agent app by calling the Langchain agent method in the Reasoning Engine's library here, passing the model the tools and any extra arguments like the return intermediate steps, which will give us a verbose output of the tool use. So here I am invoking the agent with an input, and here I can see all the steps taken by the agent, which includes a function call here and the result, and the final output is right here. And then after I'm happy with the results, after I run locally here, I can then deploy it to my remote runtime, and I can do so in the same way as before. We create a Reasoning Engine app, pass the agent, the requirements, and then we can invoke that remote agent with the query method. and here we get the response. So I hope this is useful, and thank you for watching.